Kneel Before blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
Hello, and welcome to Kneel Before Pod interviews. I'm your host, Craig, and I recently had the pleasure of talking to Yuri Lowenthal, voice of Mon'El in the new DC animated movie Legion of Superheroes. The conversation covers making Mon'El different, the endless supply of characters to voice, and crossing another L off his list. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi Yuri, how you doing?
Good, Craig. And yourself? Don't tell any of the other journalists, but you have the best title for your blog/podcast.
Thank you. It's all recorded now, so you can't take it back.
Oh, damn it.
It's a shame we're not talking on a Monday, considering who you're playing.
That's true.
I could release it on a Monday, I suppose.
That would be more Solomon Grundy.
Mon'El gets his name because Superman met him on a Monday as well, so there's that, or at least one version of him did.
I knew that you would be smarter than me about that stuff. I did not know that.
Well, you've learned something. First question, how did you come to be involved in this project?
I was contacted by the production because we've worked on some other things in the past, and they thought I would be a good fit. It's one of those rare occasions where I don't think that I auditioned for it. It was something that they thought of me for, and I will forever be grateful for them even to think to have me come in for this. So when Wes Gleason, the voice director, reached out, and Butch Lukic, who I've worked with in the past, Jim Krieg, are all people I've worked with on projects, and they said, "We thought of you," and I said, "Thank you for letting me check off another L off my list," because now I've got Kal-El, Jor-El, and Mon'El. So I don't know how many L's there are left.
Well, there's probably a couple. And you're an exclusive company because this isn't the first Legion of Superheroes project you've actually done. There was another one earlier.
That's right. One that I still carry a white-hot burning torch for. It was ahead of its time, and I still go back to it. I've watched it many times, even recently. I've got a 6-year-old son, and we watched it together, and I always stunned by how good that show is and wish that it could find an audience now.
With Mon'El, what did you find most interesting about that character when you took him on?
One of the things that I really enjoyed about it was sort of on the face of it, and with his powers and his attitude, he could come off as kind of another Superman clone, but finding ways to make him different and finding ways to dig into those stereotypes and then break those stereotypes at times was fun and something I really enjoyed working on with the team, with Wes, the director, and everybody involved.
And did you find that there was more freedom and perhaps less expectations with Mon'El because he's more obscure than other characters?
Absolutely. But I also know that there are plenty of people out there to whom he is not obscure, people like yourself and people who've been reading comics for a long time. But yes, it's not like when you step in to play Batman or Superman and they have their expectations or they have their favorite version of that already. It was fun to come in and not have to worry about that so much.
Yeah, and he appeared in live action in the Supergirl TV show as well, so he'll have a larger recognition than some others, I would imagine, as well.
Good. I hope he gets his due. I hope all the Legion does. Long live the Legion.
Imagine taking on Spider-Man, for example, comes with a lot more baggage, and I do have to sneak in a reference to Spider-Man because I can't wait for the sequel.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, if you will. Certainly in the beginning, I was super worried about taking on because there's so much history. But after a while, I had to just learn to trust the team. But even with that, I still get nervous about it. I'm like, oh, no. But in the past, they've never let me fail. I know they won't this time either. I can't wait for you to play it.
What went into preparing your performance as Mon'El? How much research did you do into the character? And how did you find his voice, I suppose, is the term?
Because I was somewhat familiar with him, if I'm coming in to play a character that's an established character that I don't know anything about, I will immediately dig in. But because I knew a little bit about Mon'El, and because I knew they wanted to craft him in a particular way, most of my research was really just bringing what I brought naturally and then working with the team who was working on the movie, again, Wes Gleason, the voice director, to really craft the Mon'El that they wanted and they needed for this story.
I liked that you gave him a really cheeky edge. There was something just very lighthearted and frothy about him, which I thought was really entertaining.
Thank you. I wanted him, when he first meets Supergirl, to be kind of starstruck. He is a Superman fanboy. I definitely wanted to give him that brilliance and that enthusiasm.
Did you have any interaction with the other members of the voice cast? I know in animated projects, sometimes it's just on your own and you never know who you're actually talking to.
We didn't get to record together, unfortunately. I always prefer group records. I always prefer being in the room with other actors. But again, that's when I really had to sort of depend on Wes, the voice director, to keep me in the same world as the rest of the actors and where they wanted it to to go. I'm big fans of so many of the other people who were taking part in it and know some of them. So it was often easy to at least imagine their voice in my head. Also, we're big fans of the Disney Zombies movies here in our household with the 6-year-old here at home, but I love it too. So imagining Meg in the role was certainly helpful, even though we've never met. But people I had worked with before, like Robbie Daymond and Ben Diskin and Eric Lopez and Darren DePaul, who is just the best, Jennifer Hale. Every now and then I would ask the voice director, I'd say, hey, who's playing this? If you're allowed to tell me who's playing this, just so that I could kind of get it in my head. It's definitely more fun that way and helps when you're recording solo.
I imagine you must see a lot of the same names cropping up on a lot of things that you end up doing.
Yeah, it's nice to have that community and to have relationships that we've created over the years.
So have you spoken to any of the actors since, or even during the period?
The one most recently, actually, and somebody who I just left out, Zeno Robinson, who I love so dearly. He and I were talking about it recently. We were just so excited because there were some characters that I didn't act with when I was recording. And so I didn't feel as motivated to ask about, and I didn't want to waste time in our recording session. Who's playing this? Who's playing that? Even though I'm not in a scene with them. So I only found out when it was announced that there were people in there that I know and love. Some of them, like Zeno. Zeno and I immediately started talking. We're like, I can't believe we're in the same movie together. So, yeah, it was good to discover that as well.
Maybe one day you'll cross paths with Jensen Ackles when he's doing a Batman thing.
Right. That would be so cool. He's so cool. Some of those people I know just from their work, but I'd love to meet them sometime. It's a great cast.
You've done a whole raft of voice work over the years. Is there any character that you haven't got to do yet that you would love to, or maybe even one that you've done before you'd love to do differently?
I got a taste of Mr. Miracle, but he's always been a favorite of mine. I did briefly in The Brave and the Bold. I'd love to go back to him. Batman's always at the top of everyone's list. Certain people's voices are more Batman-y, and my voice tends more towards Robin than Batman, but I've always wanted to play Batman. I grew up reading and still continue to read comics. There's an endless supply. I'll never run out of people that I would want to play, which is why it's always so exciting to get onto one of these projects. You get in the room and you realize that everyone feels that way. The writers, the producers, the directors, the voice director, everybody on the project loves this world. And it's fun to get in there with that kind of energy and realize that so many people love this and they're so happy to be there. So there'll always be an endless list.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time and good luck with everything. Can't wait to hear you again as Spider-Man later this year and with everything else.
I can't wait for you to play the game. The only spoiler I can give you is it's going to be awesome. It's truly astonishing.
I'll take that. Thanks very much for your time. It was great chatting to you.
Thank you, Greg. You too.
That was my interview with Yuri Lowenthal. I wish him the very best for this movie and for all future projects. If you like what you heard, then hit subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We'd love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and a review. If you want to discuss this interview, DC in general, or anything else, then you can contact us on Twitter or Facebook under Kneel Before Blog, or leave a comment on kneelbeforeblog.co.uk. For more interviews, a monthly news podcast, and deep dive analytical discussions about your favourite nerdy things, join us on Kneel Before Pod.